You all know I love crazy facts. Seriously, the weirder the better. We're going to cover everything from history to science to just plain weird stuff that actually happened. Welcome to the channel. Before we start, take a second and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you'll be informed when we post a new video. Here are 25 random facts that you didn't know. First up, we're talking cryogenics. You know, freezing people to bring them back later. Fact 1. Back in 1967, this guy named James Bedford became the first person ever to have his body cryogenically frozen. Now I know what you're thinking, did it work? Well, the jury's still out on that one. See, Mr. Bedford is still chilling out in his cryogenic chamber waiting for the day science can bring him back. Can you imagine being frozen for decades and then waking up in the future? Talk about a culture shock! Next up, we're talking about one of the most impressive feats of engineering in the world, the Burj Khalifa. This skyscraper is seriously massive. Fact 2. 20,000 tons of steel in the Burj Khalifa was repurposed from the parliament building of the former state of East Germany. They took a piece of history, melted it down, and used it to build the future. Talk about recycling on a whole new level. Fact 3. The cells in our bodies have a single, non-modal cilium. It's a tiny hair-like thing. This cilium acts as a cellular antenna, like a radio receiver picking up signals, helping our cells communicate and function. Trillions of these tiny antennas keep everything running smoothly. Fact 4. Every year the Takini Hot Springs in Yukon, Canada, hosts an international hair freezing contest. Participants soak in the hot springs, and as the cold winter air hits their wet hair, it freezes into wild shapes. Contestants style their frozen hair into unique designs, competing in categories like Best Male, Female, Group, and Most Creative Style. The contest has become a quirky tradition, attracting attention from around the world. It's a fun and frosty event that showcases creativity and the spirit of winter. Fact 5. There's this secretive hedge fund called the Medallion Fund. These guys are like the ninjas of Wall Street. They've been crushing it in the market for decades, an average annual return of 62% over the last 30 years. Invested $100,000 in 1993, you'd have hundreds of millions today. Fact 6. We're talking about the Great Oxidation Event. Imagine a time when Earth's atmosphere had almost no oxygen. Then these little guys called cyanobacteria came along. They used sunlight to make energy and their waste product was oxygen. They pumped out so much oxygen that it transformed the atmosphere. Talk about an ecological glow-up. You know how OJ has that distinct tangy citrusy flavor? Well, much of that flavor doesn't actually come from the oranges themselves. Fact 7. When they pasteurize and deoxygenate orange juice to make it last longer, it loses its natural flavor. So to compensate for that, major orange juice producers add something called flavor packs. These flavor packs are basically chemical fragrances designed to mimic the taste of fresh oranges. They're formulated in labs by flavorists who specialize in creating these artificial flavors. It's kinda wild to think about, but hey, at least it tastes good. Fact 8. The charcoal beetle is drawn to forest fires like moths to a flame. They have built-in infrared sensors to detect heat from miles away. It's like they have a fire alarm built right into their bodies. The fire creates the perfect environment for their larvae to hatch and thrive. Even something as destructive as a fire can have a positive impact in the long run. You know that saying, "A little bird told me"? We say it all the time, but it turns out it's crazy old. Fact 9. The English expression "a little bird told me" originates from Saint Gregory, who claimed to receive divine inspiration through a dove. And that's where the whole "a little bird told me" thing comes from. For more than 2 weeks after the 9/11 attacks, rescue dogs continued their search, working 12-hour days for an average of 10 days straight. Many of these dogs suffered cuts, scrapes, heat exhaustion, and burns during their search. Unfortunately, even with their tiresome search, only 20 survivors were pulled from the debris. The 9/11's rescue dogs and handlers were trained for live rescues. Fact 10. The dogs became so depressed finding only dead bodies, rescue workers had to stage fake rescues to boost their morale. Alright music fans, this one's for you. You know the Bee Gees? Disco legends, staying alive, the whole deal? Fact 11. A music video was made for Bee Gees' hit Night Fever in 1978, but not shown to the public until 26 years later, in 2004. The Bee Gees are rocking out in this dark studio, and there's all this footage of Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, spliced in. A lot of the places in the video no longer exist. Fact 12. Isotrophobia is the fear of mirrors or seeing oneself in a mirror. This phobia can be triggered by traumatic events or cultural superstitions. Some people with isotrophobia go to great lengths to avoid mirrors, even covering them up in their homes. Needlefish, which can live in both saltwater and freshwater, are known for their long, slender bodies and sharp beaks. Fact 13. These fish are capable of leaping out of the water and in some instances, have accidentally injured or even killed people by stabbing them with their beaks. These accidents typically occur when needlefish are startled and jump out of the water at high speeds, sometimes landing on boats or striking individuals. While such incidents are rare, they can cause serious injuries. Just be aware of your surroundings, especially if you're in areas where needlefish are known to hang out. Ever wonder why writing systems in South and Southeast Asia look so different from ours? I'm talking about languages like Hindi, Tamil, Arabic. They've all got those beautiful flowing scripts. Fact 14, the reason most South and Southeast Asian writing symbols are curved and rounded is that they were easier to inscribe into palm leaves. The oldest surviving documents written in Sanskrit, dated 2 millennia old, were written on palm leaves. Whenever you see some beautiful South or Southeast Asian calligraphy, remember, it's not just art, it's ancient technology in action. Fact 15. Glass fiber dresses were a fad for a few years in the 1890s. Imagine walking down the street looking all fabulous in your glass dress. They say these dresses were all the rage for a hot minute back then. The New York Times even claimed glass fiber dresses were the next big thing. Can you imagine the headlines? Move over cotton, glass is the new black. Fact 16. There's an actual job out there called a hole watcher. They are also called standby man and bottle watchers. These guys are like the guardians of the underground, making sure everyone working in those tight and confined spaces is safe and sound. Think about it, you're down in a hole or inside a confined space, and things can get hairy real quick. That's where the hole watcher comes in. They're up top, keeping an eye on everything, making sure there's enough air flowing and that nobody's getting into any trouble. They're like the superheroes of the underground, always ready to sound the alarm if someone gets stuck, hurt, or, God forbid, passes out from lack of oxygen. Talk about a high-pressure job. Fact number 17 is gonna rock your world, especially if you're a pizza lover like me. Fact 17. Portobello mushrooms and white button mushrooms are the same mushroom. It's all about the age. Those cute little white button mushrooms, they're just teenagers. Give them some time to grow up and bam! They turn into those big, juicy portobellos ready for grilling. And while we're on the topic of mushrooms, those brown criminis? Same deal, just a slightly more mature version of the white button mushroom. Imagine winning a supercomputer, but like, for the price of a house. That's exactly what happened to someone out there. Fact 18. A needs repair US supercomputer with 8,000 Intel Xeon CPUs and 300 terabytes of RAM was won via auction for only $480,085. To put that into perspective, that's more processing power than like a whole office building full of computers. And don't even get me started on the 300 terabytes of RAM. We're talking about storing every single meme ever created and still having room for more. Whoever won that auction is probably sitting on a gold mine right now. They could be mining cryptocurrency, running complex simulations, or even just playing Minecraft with like a billion mods. You know that whole Mentos and Diet Coke explosion thing? Turns out it was a marketing masterpiece. When Mentos makers saw a chemistry teacher create a soda geyser several feet high by dropping Mentos into Diet Coke on The Late Show, instead of freaking out, they were like, let's make this go viral. Fact 19. They devised a consumer misuse campaign encouraging user-generated videos and paying content creators to create a trend that achieved a 20% sales spike. Everyone and their grandma was setting off Mentos volcanoes. They turned a science experiment into a viral sensation and made a ton of money in the process. I gotta try that sometime. Alright guys, get this, we're talking about creatures that are older than the pyramids, older than Stonehenge, older than, well, pretty much everything. We're diving deep into the ocean to uncover the secrets of the glass sponge. Fact 20. A glass sponge could live as long as 15,000 years. Meaning oldest living glass sponges were around before humans built any permanent structure on Earth. These sponges have witnessed history unfold from the ocean floor. They're like the ultimate time capsules holding secrets of the ocean's past. Scientists are even studying their skeletons to learn about ancient climate change. Talk about a living fossil. Did you know that pro wrestling referee Aubrey Edwards has a surprising background? Fact 21. Aubrey Edwards is also a video game developer who has worked on the Scribblenauts series. She progressed from programmer to lead producer, showcasing her diverse talents. The Battle of Palmdale occurred in 1956 when the U.S. Air Force attempted to shoot down an out-of-control drone. Fact 22. Two F-89 Scorpion jets fired 208 rockets at the drone, but all missed. the stray rockets started multiple fires, burning 1,000 acres of land, damaging structures, and destroying a pickup truck. The drone eventually crashed on its own, and the incident is remembered as a highly unsuccessful military exercise. What if I told you there was once a warship made entirely of rock? Fact 23. During the Napoleonic Wars, in 1804, the Royal Navy took advantage of the Diamond Rock's strategic location near Martinique in the Caribbean. The British Admiralty officially commissioned it as HMS Diamond Rock, turning it into a de facto warship. They fortified the 175-meter-high rock with cannons and stationed a small garrison of sailors there. For over a year, the garrison harassed French ships in the area until the French finally recaptured the rock in 1805. Alright, we're talking about Shrek, the lovable green ogre who stole our hearts. Everybody knows Shrek. The movies are so fun. Fact 24. The movies was based on a book titled Shrek, in 1990, by William Steig. It told the story of a hideous ogre rescuing a princess. After September 11th, something monumental happened. You know how crazy that day was. Fact 25. The maritime response following the September 11th attacks was the largest sea evacuation in world history. More than 500,000 people were evacuated from Lower Manhattan by boats over the course of just a few hours. Can you imagine needing to evacuate 500,000 people? That's like the population of a small country. The United States Coast Guard coordinated a large convoy of merchant ships, tugboats, and ferries to evacuate the stranded and injured victims. And there you have it. 25 random facts you probably didn't know. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Keep discovering, one fact at a time.